Imagine you've been preparing for an interview for weeks. You are excited, you got your resumes ready. You're this close to land that dream job. But you bombed the interview. Maybe it was because you were nervous, or maybe you said something you shouldn't have. And now you lost that opportunity. Your friends tell you that's okay, at least you learned what not to do in the future. What they don't mention is you just paid a price to learn that lesson. You lost time, you lost efforts, and you lost that golden opportunity. Hi everyone, this is Pal Rajpurohit, and I talk about my life experiences. People always say that it's okay, you just learned a lesson from that. We hear it all the time, don't we? After a failed attempt, a missed opportunity, or a broken relationship. It's the ultimate consolation prize, like, hey, at least you learned something. But is that everything to it? Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like learning a lesson cost you something? Maybe you didn't just learn, maybe you lost something, and the price of that lesson was a much higher than we like to admit. Because the truth is, behind every lesson, there is a hidden cost that no one really talks about. Okay, so let's take another example. Think about relationships. People say it's okay, breakup taught you something. Sure, you learned, but you also lost time, emotional investment, and maybe a part of your identity. These aren't just lessons, these are values we paid with pieces of ourselves. So here's the $1 million question: how do we stop ourselves repeating the same mistake? And more importantly, how do we stop labeling every failure as just another lesson and move beyond that? So these are some of the ways. Number one, learning from others' mistake. This is my favorite. You don't have to wait until you mess up to learn a valuable lesson. You can get ahead by observing the outcomes of others' decision. We can bypass a lot of pain they have already experienced. This brings us to the second one, that is self-reflection. It is not enough to shrug off a failure just by saying, oh well, it happens, that's life, I made another mistake. Instead, ask yourself, what exactly did I learn? What can I do to make sure this doesn't happen again? Here's exactly how you can do after every setback. Ask yourself what happened, why did it happen, what were the choices you made, and what you could have done differently. For example, you missed a deadline at work. Was it because you underestimated the time needed, or was it because you got distracted by social media? Break it down so the next time you can set clear boundaries or manage your time better. And the number three is stop romanticizing a failure. This is something I see in a lot of people. We have all heard the phrase, failure is the best teacher, right? But here's the problem. Sometimes we romanticize failure, we glorify struggle so much that we see it as a badge of honor. But here's the truth: failure doesn't make you automatically stronger unless you actively work through it. And brushing off every mistake as another lesson, acknowledge that not every lesson was necessary or worth it. Sometimes you could have avoided it. And number four is take preventive measures. Instead of waiting for the lesson to hit you, start planning ahead. For example, if you're going into a new project or new job, talk to people who've been through it. Find out the common mistakes people make in your field. Set yourself up for success by preparing for the challenge you know are coming. Point number five is, this is really important, own your mistake. Accountability is the key. We are all humans and we are going to mess up. The moment we start blaming others or giving excuses, we strip ourselves of the power to change. Instead, take accountability. Owning up to your parts gives you the control to fix it and avoid it the next time. Isn't that interesting? Because that literally means that your life is under your control. What else do we want? And you have power to influence the future outcomes. Okay, so this brings us to the conclusion. Okay, I don't want you to be guilty right now, and I promise I'm gonna make you feel better about the same. The fact that you are watching this video because you care about your growth, you care about becoming the best version of yourself, that itself is the proof that your mistakes haven't held you back, and they have pushed you to seek something better. Isn't that something to be proud of? You only feel bad about your mistakes because the outcome mattered to you. That's a good thing. It means you have passion, you have goals, and you are invested in your growth. So instead of feeling guilty, take a moment to recognize that every mistake is just a sign that you are trying. You can always rewrite your story. Every day is a new day. You have the power to turn the page, start fresh, and move forward with more knowledge. You are allowed to be imperfect, you are allowed to stumble and fall, but you are not allowed to stay same, you are not allowed to give up, and you are definitely not allowed to give excuses. It's okay to fall, but as long as you get back up differently. So the next time someone tells you, hey, at least you learned a lesson, remember, yes, you did, but you also paid a price. Acknowledging the value of what you lost doesn't make the lesson less meaningful, it just makes it more real. Okay, so that was all I had to speak. Thank you all.